I want these guys to live absolutely as long as possible. It is my driver. I want the forever dog. I've always had a fascination with longevity, and to see dogs around the world living to be 30 years old, I want a dog that's going to live to be 30 years old. So, you know, that common through line, I realize that nutrition is not everything. I know that it's over the years of sitting down with scientists and researching so many different types of experts around the world, it's probably, if to make it in a very layman-esque type of way, it's probably 1/3 of the combination. So we know that 1/3 is genetics, we know that 1/3 is the environment around you, but we also know a very big chunk of that is nutrition. And so what is it that I have to do to keep these guys with me for as long as possible? That's why nutrition.
As dogs are increasingly considered members of the family, we're placing more importance on the food we feed them.
Today on NSK9, we're talking about feeding our dogs healthy.
Tell me, what's the funniest thing that's happened to you while you've had this business?
Once I got at our lunch bought a dog treat, and he thought it was a cookie for him, and he went and ate it, and then someone had told him that it was a dog treat, and he ran back saying that it was good, but I should have told him it was a dog treat.
They are pretty good.
Yeah, they're all healthy. You can eat them.
So I gotta tell you, when I was 11 years old, the last thing on my mind was starting a business. And you started this when you were 9, right?
Yeah.
Why did you want to start a business?
Most treats you buy from the store aren't all natural and have like ingredients that aren't good for dogs. So I wanted Cooper to have his own treats that were actually good for him. Sit.
Even at her young age, Madison Crawford knows how difficult it is to start a business. She's part of a global movement of healthier food for pets. Like Madison, Rodney Habib started a pet food business because of his dog Sam, and remembers how hard it was for him to convince people of the value of healthier pet food.
One of the biggest things that really sort of, when I was younger, that really put me onto this path, of course, was feeding Sam the China tainted chicken jerky from Costco and destroying a quarter of her kidneys. And not understanding how label laws work, not understanding that you could buy food or chicken from China, tainted meats, bring it into Canada and just labeled package in Canada. And as a Canadian, I just thought that meant it was Canadian.
And like some food that's not good for dogs, they put into the treats. So I wanted to make my own, knowing that Cooper had something good to put in his mouth. And the other dogs, when they buy the treats and taste them, like it's good for them as well.
So you're very worried about the
Yeah.
health and safety of the dogs?
Yeah.
And your dogs in particular?
Yes.
Initially, there was probably a lot of people in the province that thought I'd gone mad when I would contact some of the local farmers, and I would say to them, hey, I want to be able to carry your meats. I remember Randy at the Seaport Farmers Market, Ranchers Farms, Pastor Randy, who would make the local yogurts. And I went to him one day and I was like, I would love to be able to carry your yogurts in my fridge because I believe your kefirs, your probiotics would better the gut function of dogs. And he looked at me and he said, have you gone mad? And I was like, no, really, I want to keep it in my shop. And he said to me, I can't have people think that my yogurts are for dogs because then I can't sell it for humans if they see it in your shop.
When Madison decided to expand her business to a mobile store, Rodney was among the first to help.
We bought a camper from PEI and then got it renovated. And to get it renovated, we made a GoFundMe page and had people donate, one of which was Rodney from Planet Paws, and Bowling Farms had a social and donated money from there.
It was so difficult in the beginning to get people to sort of come on board, but it was those farmers, he himself, it took him 24 hours, and he woke up in the morning being the great man that he was, and he said, you know what? Okay, I'll put it in your shop, but I hope you do your best to make sure that people know that it's for dogs and for pets. it was those people that took a chance on me that helped sort of grow the mindset and sort of the mentality that I had to want to be able to go to social media. So to be able to return that favor to people, I don't think I do it enough, and I would love to do it more. And I will never take the credit for anybody here in our province because like I say, I'm a Nova Scotian just as much as they are, and it was their peers that took a chance on me, and I would love and be honored to be able to help sort of people like that pay it forward.
Rodney was scooping ice cream at his parents' convenience store when he decided to start a pet food store. Now he not only is the face behind Planet Paw's Pet Essentials, but is one of the world's most recognized advocates for pet nutrition, with speeches all over the world and more than 2.5 million Facebook fans.
And you've kind of become a bit of an evangelist on this.
Yeah, it's so interesting, eh? I mean, it's crazy to think that to tell somebody to put a bag of chips down or to stay away from processed food could be so controversial. I mean, in our world, going into the refrigerator and reaching for a carrot seems like the most logical thing to do. But in the animal world, going in the refrigerator and reaching for a carrot can almost be catastrophic, and you think about diarrhea, and you think about, am I going to give my dog like pancreatitis, or what type of ailment am I going to give my dog from going into the refrigerator? So we've really, I think over the last couple of years, just reverse engineering that mindset of, hey, you know, we have to question what's going into that bowl. We have to question why meat can be in a package and not have to be refrigerated. I mean, my grandmother, it didn't take a scientist. My 95-year-old grandmother is the one that said to me, how can that just sit there and not be refrigerated and you're telling me there's meat in it? And then I remember that sort of aha moment where it was like, that's a great question, Nanny.
Are your dogs sort of the taste testers for your different recipes?
Oh, yeah.
So tell me a bit how that works.
Sometimes they sneak the treats and just like take it without us knowing. But most times, like after they're done, cool down, we give it to them and we see if they like it.
So how does it make you feel to be able to do this?
It makes me feel good because it's not like putting like poison into dogs' mouths. It's good for them.
That young girl, she's like truly like an aspiring young girl. I met her mother at the hospital. It's incredible like how many people even know about her. I was sitting down with the gazillionaire Mark Warren, the guy that sold his insurance company for $150 million, and he was talking about her. Like, I mean, there's like people like on all different levels that sort of that are intrigued and inspired by her story. So yeah, I think it's awesome, man. I think it's awesome.
Sometimes it's bad teeth or gum disease because we're not brushing our dogs or flossing them as often as we should, and we're too kind to them with the foods that we feed. They're not hard enough to actually cause enough friction on the teeth to keep those teeth clean. The other place that we can get odor is from the stomach, and it depends what they're eating. So if you're on a high fish diet, what they're belching up is going to have a lot of fish smell, so that could be foul. Or depending on what they're actually eating, will depend on what the breath is, because they're not using mints or fresheners or anything like that. So it's rare that we have dogs that have really lovely kissable breath.
I wasn't allowed to have dogs. I grew up in a Mediterranean home like any other Mediterranean that came from the Maritimes. Furniture was first, man. So the plastic on the furniture and fur on the carpet was a no way. So never had dogs, never got to experience the love of an animal. So it was to be a 30-year-old man and his first time experience to an animal, that term hedonic adaptation, where it's a 5-year-old where you see a plane for the first time and you're just in this awe. That was my experience with dogs. So definitely life-changing.
10 years ago, I had a dog, a Cocker Spaniel named Willow, that had really bad allergies, and to kibble, she was itching all the time. So I heard what raw can do for a dog, so I decided to switch her to raw, and within 3 days, she had stopped itching. I do dog sports, and I was doing agility at the time, and I needed a treat that I could use to reward her with that didn't have any processing in it or any of the stuff that's in kibble. So I decided to try to dehydrate liver. So I bought myself one of those little dehydrators, and I'd start dehydrating it in my kitchen. So I would go to class, and I'd have the treats, and all my people that were training with me were like, oh, can you do me some? Can you do me some? And I was like, well, yeah, okay. So that's how it started. We named it Crazy Dog because of my dog Whisper, who was a Border Collie Golden Retriever who was really crazy. She was hyper.
That sounds like a pretty crazy mix.
Yeah, she was pretty crazy.
Like Madison and Rodney, Shauna's passion for dog nutrition came from experiences with her own dogs. She now produces dehydrated treats and raw food packages. And her business quickly grew as people clamored for treats with ingredients which they could find on their own dinner tables.
So like any small business, you've had help from many other local businesses in getting where you are today. Can you tell me about some of those?
Well, first started out with my first store was B&R Pet Supplies. They were a big help getting me started. Then it was Plant Paws and Rodney, definitely, and he put us in our stores, and of course, people love him, and he was one of our, he's our biggest customer. And then Pet Value, I'm in there. They're a great place. I'm in all the Pet Values except for 2, I think, in Nova Scotia. The Global Pet Foods, and definitely Jolly Tails. Tristan Flynn, he has 3 stores now that carry our food or carry our treats, and our bones and stuff. And with all these people, I wouldn't be here without that, for sure. I mean, it's great that they can support, and they're great. Like they're really good people. But that's, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them and our customers.
I know there was an article posted by the Vancouver Sun that showed the explosion of sort of the fresh food movement here that's happening in Canada. And the fact that more and more Canadians are starting to incorporate real, live, whole, fresh sources of foods to their dogs and cats' bowls it's so incredible to see. So there's a massive shift that's happening at the moment.
It's really important what you're putting in your dog's system, right? Because if you want to extend their lives, right, that's the whole key part of it, right? You're giving them good food. You're not giving them the crap that's in the kibble and things like that. It's if you care about your dog, that's what you want to do, right?
I think for the food industry, I think the pressure from pet parents globally will force or inspire pet food manufacturers to be better. I really do. I think all it's going to do at the end of the day is force manufacturers to become more transparent. And we're already seeing that. You have pet parents themselves who are raising money, putting together initiatives to be able to test foods to really determine, is what they're saying in that package really in that package? And we wouldn't have seen that a decade ago.
Because you want to know what's going in your dog. You don't want to put, stuff that's, like you hear about the stuff that's going on in China and where the dogs are getting sick from those chicken treats. And Rodney's, one of Rodney's dogs, they had problems with that. And it's just a scary thing. If you don't know where your food's coming from and you don't know what your dog is getting, then, how are you going to extend your dog's life and make sure that it's happy and healthy? And that's one thing we do know where all our meat comes from. Our suppliers are Olton's, Atlantic Beef, Reed's Meats, Northumberland Lamb. That's where all our meats come from. All pretty much locally sourced. And we know, I actually go to the abattoir. I'm there. I see what's happening. Olton's is a great company. I know what's going on there. It's, I can see it with my eyes, so I know what I'm getting.
Shauna's hands-on approach to sourcing ingredients has increased demand for her products to the point where her biggest challenge is actually getting enough ingredients. But while still focused on Nova Scotia, her products can be found in stores in PEI, New Brunswick, and Ontario.
Our number one treat is the honey beefer. That's our signature treat. They call that doggy crack. The dogs go crazy for it. Our next treat would be a toss-up between beef lung and lamb lung. We have a problem sourcing enough lamb lung to keep up with the demand. I've tried to source it in other provinces, other places, and I just cannot get it, which is very frustrating for me because I want to please our customers and we try to do the best that we can. The beef lung, we've pretty much had no problem sourcing that.
And this really is a growing business, isn't it?
Oh, it is
Industry.
booming. The raw foods is booming. Like, I can remember 3 to 4 years ago, and it was not as big as it is now. There's a lot of competition out there. A lot of people are, you know, getting into it, and it's taken off.
If you think about it, your followers on this started here. Like they were people in Nova Scotia, in Dartmouth.
Yes, absolutely.
For them, they were people in Montebello.
Absolutely, that's exactly where
they were the original followers.
There was no Facebook, right? And then it was. That's exactly what happened. Well, let's be quite honest. Like, and I tell everyone the same story. Really, if there was no Andrew Younger, there'd be really no Rodney Habib, because
well, that's
it
very
was
kind.
you. It was you. I remember sitting there, scooping ice cream for a living, and then looking over at you and say, you know, I had this idea of putting like this small 5 foot by 5 foot section in the back of mom and dad's like pizzeria, and to put like good pet food there. And then I remember you said to me, you were like, hey man, I got a better idea. Why don't we build that into something bigger? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember sitting having the little pistachio cookies
Yeah,
that your
yeah.
mom made. That was great.
Do you remember that, man?
That was great fun.
Yeah, and then born of that was Plan Applause, and then social media explosion, and
Yeah.
As a veterinarian, I'm supposed to say no. However, in my house, we quite often give them bones to keep their teeth clean. You never want to use cooked bones because they will splinter, so you want to have an uncooked bone. The problem with bones a lot of times is we're using the big marrow bones, and marrow is very, very rich in fat. So most of these dogs will either have diarrhea or soft stool the day after the bone, which people get a little bit annoyed about.
If I want to feed my dog better, but I don't have 2 or 3 hours a day
Yeah.
to like chop everything
Yeah,
up and,
yeah.
and sit and research everything,
Yeah.
what can I do?
teaspoon of vegetables. And that sounds crazy. And if you want to see the research on that, it's phenomenal. I like you thought it's go big or go home. I don't think anybody will ever know what's the exact combination of food you should eat, I should eat, or especially our dogs and cats should eat. But one thing I can tell you is that variation seems to be the key.
With so much conflicting information, it can be hard to know what to feed your pet. Over time, looking at the research and listening to many points of view, Rodney has realized that the best answer for most people is balance and learning what is in the food you feed your dog.
So in the olden days, for me, it was like all or nothing. It was like, it has to be organic, it has to be free range, it has to be grass-fed, it has to be ethically sourced, it has to be, you know, humanely sourced, happy, healthy animals. You don't want that cortisol release in the meat. And then eventually it got to the point where it became so difficult that absolutely nobody could do it. And that's kind of that aha moment for me where it was like, you know what? 96% of the world population is feeding packaged processed foods and 4% get it. And there's a reason why there's such that gap. So I want to play somewhere in the middle. I want to be able to talk to the larger audience because the 4% already understand it. And so like you said, who can afford to feed? I mean, we ourselves as humans, if you've got a family of 4 and you've got, let's say, 2 or 3 pets, you can't afford to do all that. It's just not a reality. And it's really hard to steer somebody away from the convenience of things. I like to eat out because I hate making food, right? But for me, my driver, them, is the reason why I'll spend an hour every day at lunchtime grinding ginger, grinding turmeric, chopping up my vegetables finally. So yeah, it is, there's no question. It's tough these day and age to eat in an affordable, economical, convenient format, and it being the optimal source of nutrition.
Madison, Rodney, and Shauna share a deep love for dogs, and they all have big plans for their future in helping dogs live longer and healthier lives.
I love helping dogs, so I definitely want to help dogs get good homes and stuff like that.
So why are dogs important to you?
Because they're Dogs. Dogs are adorable. I love dogs.
Where do you hope your business is going to grow?
Well, one day I want to have like a shop, like one of the huts down in Fisherman's Cove or something like that. Yeah.
Now, this is a bit bigger than a dehydrator on the kitchen counter.
Yeah, this is a lot bigger than that, yeah. And we still need more space. I mean, but you know, you grow with what you can,
So you're
right?
doing like a heck of a volume here. Then.
Yeah, we're doing quite a bit. Yeah, we're in, I think, 52 to 53 stores. We also sell to dog walkers. I'll give wholesale pricing to dog walkers if they want to buy the quantity that we want. We just, it's great. I never imagined when I started doing this liver in my kitchen that this was what it was going to be, right? We're pretty much, we're busy all the time. Like, we're maxed right now.
Which is why you need to expand.
Yeah, that's why we need to expand. So that would be great if we could expand across the country, but that's just right now I want to be able to keep up with what we're doing here. Things are going great. You know, but who knows, someday we might be able to do that.
To see the province and how far the province has come itself, and to see, you know, what people are doing here locally is super exciting for me. And I think my source of excitement is what else is going to come out of Nova Scotia? What else is going to come out of Dartmouth and Halifax that could impact the pet world?
Rodney's continuing his global mission to help people feed their dogs better and not get overwhelmed by nutritional decisions.
And so it's not about feeding, like spending $20, $30 every single day on the best bowl you can make. It's about incorporating, bringing things in and out of your bowl or your diet, whether it's once a day, whether it's once a week, whether it's once a month, whatever that you can do, just that little bit can have an effect on sort of your overall health and immunity. So that is kind of the one big thing that I would want people to know is that, hey man, if you've got 25 cents in your pocket and that's all that you have, how can you effectively use that 25% to help increase the longevity of your pet? So go out, go to a farmer, somebody's going to throw away their head of kale at the Seaport Farmers Market, take it, chop it up at home, put it in a freezer, give them that 25 cents and use that as a tool to help increase the lifespan of your pet.
Visit us online to tell us your dog stories for possible inclusion in future episodes. And don't forget to share photos of your canine friends on social media with the hashtag NSK9.
I guess to be a guy born in like Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, with a population of what, 45,000 today, to see how social media can make the world so small is unbelievable. And to see how quickly social media can connect people and people that have the same passions and the same drives that you do, I think is the part for me that I still scratch my head about. Because had you told me that in a year and a half, 100 million people were going to be cared what I had to say or care what I thought, I would have just told you were crazy.
It seems farms have always had dogs around. Next time on NSK9, we're going to visit some farms where dogs are working in traditional and non-traditional ways.
I met my husband in Antigua, and he had a few sheep on an island in Nova Scotia. So eventually I moved here, and he used to round up the sheep on foot, and I said, that's just crazy. I said, you need a border collie. So we saw an ad in the paper for a border collie, $50 from a farm. So off with stay, that'll do, one. So off we went to look at these puppies. And of course, we didn't really know. I mean, I've been around dogs all my life, but we didn't know how to choose a working puppy.